It's time for another Dice Tower review with Tim Jennette.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jennette, the Metal Meeple, and in this video we're taking a look at a train game called Paris Connection. It was designed by David V.H. Peters, published by Queen Games in 2010. It's for 3 to 6 players and takes about 30 minutes. Now it's a train game, but it's also kind of a stock game because as you're building these trains and going through cities, it's going to increase the value of that train color. So if red goes through a bunch of cities, red stock prices are going to go up. Behind your hidden screens, you have so many of the little trains, and you're going to get points equal to the stock value for each piece that you've collected. And then at the end of the game, whoever has the most points is the winner. Let me show you the game and all its components. We'll come back, and I'll tell you what I think. So to set up Paris Connection, we have the big board in the middle of the table. We have all these sideboards, which we'll talk about in a second. You take one of each color train and put it around Paris and on the start space of the victory track, which goes up on this railroad here. The game comes with a massive bag of all these tiny little candy-looking trains. And basically, depending on the number of players, each player is going to draw a random amount at the beginning. So in a 6-player game, you get 5 of these locomotives. You get more for each player count below that. You also have a hidden screen that you're going to take to put your trains behind, and it shows you some information which we'll go over here in a minute. Lastly, you're going to dump this bag out on the table, and then all the players are going to help you take all the different trains and place them on their appropriate board. So if you're curious, that took about 6 minutes to do alone. Obviously with more players, it'd be a little bit quicker. It is important to note that you do want to splay them out on their different little squares. That way you can kind of see how many are left. And also at the beginning of the game, you can see what has been taken from the bag during setup, because that might matter somewhat. Anyway, the start player, who is randomly selected, is going to begin the game, and they're going to do one action among 2 available actions. The first is to expand a railroad, which is called build. You're going to choose one of the 6 colors, and you're going to choose between 1 and 5 locomotives off that tile to build out. So let's just say we do yellow, and we're going to take our complement of 5. So we got 4, we got 5. We'll zoom in here, and we're going to build out from yellow. And we're trying to go across these cities. So we'll go 1 here, we'll go 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. And say we build out something like this. The only stipulations with building is that 1 train can be on a city tile, 2 trains can be on a grass tile, but they have to be of different colors so you can cross paths. You cannot block. You can't wrap around Paris to block off the other colors. They have to be able to build out of Paris. Anyway, once that's done, you're going to increase the value of that company, so yellow, by the number of tiles that you landed on. So if you look at your chart on your hidden screen, you can see that the white cities are worth 1, 2, 3, and 4, depending on the color coding. I forgot also to note that when you place, you can't go across these little red hash mark things. Anyway, so in this case we have yellow. We've built it on 3 cities. So we're going to move its victory point track here, or its worth, its stock value, up to the 3. And then it would be the next player's turn. The second type of action you can choose is to basically trade your stock, in which case you're going to choose, let's just say these are the 5 that we had behind us, and maybe later on in the game we think that red's doing poorly. You would choose one of these to place back on its board, and you would take up between 1 and 2 of another color. So say yellow ends up getting built out. Now we're going to take 2 stock from yellow. The only stipulation with this is you can only have trains behind your hidden thing equal to this number of players on this chart here. So if we're playing 6 players, you can only have 10 hidden behind your train sheet here. And if you have more than that, you can have more than that, but every one that you have above 10 would be worth negative 20 points. And you can see that most of them won't get that high, so it's incredibly important to pay attention to how many you're allowed to end the game with, basically. Anyway, you can see the game is pretty simple. You choose between one of those 2 actions, and as stocks go back on the board, now they can be set back out to build out on the track, and, you know, back and forth like that. Now, the last thing is the game will end in one of 2 ways. The first way is if 5 of the 6 player train boards are empty, or somebody builds out to this blue city right here, which is worth 4 points for that value of that train company. At that point, you're going to add up however many points you have behind your screen. So let's say we ended the game with this. Just say every yellow train would be worth 3 in this case. Obviously, this would be a little bit higher as the game went on. And, the reds would be worth points and the blues and all that. And whoever has the most points is the winner. Again, if you have more than the allotted amount behind your screen, they're negative 20 apiece, which is pretty much an instant win or instant lose for the most part. So you keep playing until somebody either goes here or 5 of these boards are emptied, and then whoever has the most points is the winner. And there you go. That is Paris Connection. You're going to immediately think that the setup is fiddly, and I'm going to immediately agree with you. This has one of the most fiddly setups ever. I mean, the pieces are really small, and as you put them on all these boards, I mean, if you're playing with 6 players, you can just kind of say, you're red, you're blue, you're green, grab all these colors, and then put them out or whatever. So, for the most part, the setup is kind of bad, and what makes it worse is the fact that the game is really quick. Which is a good thing because the game really does play well. Spoiler alert, we'll get into that. But when you're finished with the game, you kind of want to play it again. But then everybody's like, we got to set it up again. So that's a constant thing I heard amongst my gaming group is that we wanted to sit there and play this 2 or 3 times in a row. It's just the setup kind of detracted us from doing so. And that's really just, there's really no way around it because of the way the game's designed. It kind of works really well. And you need it to be like this, but I can't think of any other way to make it quicker. We've tried just piling up the pieces on the different train boards. The problem with that is you can't really see without making it obvious that you're counting them and things like that. So that's whatever. I guess it's just a part of the game. I mean, if you got a group that doesn't mind the setup, then the game's going to be really good for you because it's not going to be a concern. So let's talk, with all that out of the way, let's talk about one thing. Most people I've played this with immediately think that the game is incredibly light, makes no sense, and it's not good. I thought that too on my first play, then we played it a bunch more, and I realized there's a little bit more meat to the game. I'm not saying it's super deep, but there is another layer to the game that I think that as you play the game, it unravels. Such as you spend stock to get other stock, right? Now that color it has more trains to be built out. Or you can get trains and just build to nowhere just to ruin a color, lead it off into a bunch of green, grass hexes, and then you can hear everybody be like, "Are you serious?" Or you can build tracks to a point where you can count out how many more hexes that you need in order to finish the game immediately, and then you've got like the perfect setup behind your screen. I just think that it's a little bit more deeper than what people think it is when they first get into the game. And like I said, it's not massively deep. It's not like going to replace Terra Mystica for you or something like that. But as a train stock game, it does a really good job. And the length is phenomenal. I mean, like as you're playing it, it's just quick moving because everybody has one action essentially. And it's just cool. The second action, other than building trains, changing out the stock or whatnot, the only thing I found weird is the fact that it has a limit for each player on how many trains you can hoard. But at the same time, it allows you to go over that, and it severely punishes you. I think that was kind of unnecessary. I don't know when that would become a thing, unless for newer players who just don't remember it, and they're like, "Oh man, I thought I could have 11 or 12 trains, but I can only have 10." So I feel like that's like an unnecessary rule that probably could be ruled out. Maybe I'm not seeing the purpose of it. Please let me know below if I'm not, but otherwise I think it's just a pointless rule that's just inputted in there to be like, take that, you should have listened to the rules for some reason. I don't know. Overall, I think the game is, if you can get it for a good price, it's well worth your investment. Like I said, it's fiddly, the pieces are really small. They're kind of neat, they look like candy, I want to eat them. But overall, the game, the setup just deters me from wanting to play this many times in a row. If I took the setup out of the game and I had some kind of like digital app of this game, I could see this on my phone playing this 5 or 6 times in a row, because not only would it be quicker than 30 minutes even, which 30 minutes is great, I could see the digital app being like 10 to 15 minutes with AI components or opponents. And that would just be, man, it would just go so smooth and real quick. I like it. It's not bad. It's not, if you're not, I'm not a huge stock person, like for games that have stocks. and this sits well with me, so I'm very excited about it. If you have any questions, feel free to post them below, or comments, feel free to post them below if you like it or not, or what you think of the game. And if you want, email me at timjennette@gmail.com, follow me on social media, check out my podcast called Meeplecore, and until next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.